everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 13 of Spy Family. So, the second cour has started. So, I kept saying this was going to be season 2, but then when I got on Crunchyroll and saw that it just said episode 13, I was like, oh, it's just the second cour. We're still in season 1, which makes a lot of sense since we we didn't really leave off episode 12 with like a cliffhanger season finale ending. So I was like, okay, it makes sense. We were just splitting the cours in half. This is now episode 13. We're just in the second cour of season 1. So I'm going to keep on YouTube and Patreon. I'm going to keep it as Spy Family and just have episode 13. And so we'll have 25 episodes altogether of season 1, which is a lot of fun. I like that. So with that being said, I do have some comments from episodes 10 and 11. Episode 12 hasn't aired on Patreon yet, but I wanted to go ahead and watch episode 13 because it came out today and I wanted to watch it. So that's where I'm at. But I do have some comments that I want to talk about before we get started on episode 13. I'm so excited. New OP, new ED. I'm really, really hyped about it. So we have from HBanana7, the idea that the white fur on Henry's coat in episode 10 is actually a towel. And I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But also that Bill and his father have the same VA. I talked about Bill's VA in episode 11, I'm pretty sure, but that they both have the same voice actor. I'm like, he must have had the time of his life doing the voice acting for that episode because Billy is still one of my favorite side characters in this series. He's just so good. Him and his dad, it's wonderful. Audric talks about the scene in episode 11 where Anya debates telling Loid. Apparently, a lot of people commented on this, and Audric was just the first one that I read. But apparently, Anya was just thinking about telling Loid that the kid was drowning. But then she realized, oh, that would put me in a bad spot because how would I have known if I hadn't been there? So she decided not to do it. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. She didn't fully go through with it. And Audric made a note that it was clear in the manga that this was her internal thoughts and not her telling Loid. So I was like, okay, cool. That makes me feel better because for a while I was like, so does Loid not put 2 and 2 together that she was able to predict the drowning? But he didn't even know because it didn't actually happen. Good to know. Simple Star 22 talked about how Anya, Bill, Damien, they're all trying to make their dads proud. Yeah, Damien definitely wants his dad's approval. Anya wants to make Loid proud. Billy's trying to get his dad's approval to make him proud. They all have connections to their fathers, which I thought was really, really interesting. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Sarah Linda had a comment that in episode 11, why didn't any of the adults help Anya and the kid before Loid got there? And I guess that goes with the whole, drowning quietly. But honestly, they'll just kind of watch Anya jump in. They're like a bunch of Sims. And then Loid, maybe Loid was just super, super fast. But also, Loid could have learned about his tips about drowning in children from the parenting books he had at the very beginning of the series, which I thought was a really good thing. And then the fluffy dog, it had that vision of Anya and Loid and Yor, so it seems like they've been tinkered with. Could have been experimented on. Could be a psychic puppy, a clairvoyant puppy. I would like a clairvoyant dog. But Sarah Linda said that the dog could have been maybe from the same science lab that Anya was experimented on. I'm like, that would be kind of interesting if she said that was her headcanon. She hasn't read the manga, doesn't know. But I thought that would be really neat. And then kind of tying to Christopher Peterson, in the drowning scene, Christopher Peterson pointed out, this was really good, that the drowning scene in episode 11, it's kind of scary how sort of realistic it is. And we've talked about this in the series, that this series kind of blends. There are times when Spy Family is really realistic, like the drowning scene and stuff. And then there's times where it's super exaggerated, like in the dodgeball game, like with Yor and her superhuman strength, with like all those things. And so the show kind of blends that line a little bit, and it's interesting how it does that. But also, Damien may have feelings motivating him, but he also wants to uphold the integrity of the Stella. So when he defends Anya, he's also defending the integrity of the Stella because he wants to earn them and he wants to be dignified as so if people start saying that Anya just got the Stella for no reason, it would diminish their worth, and Damien couldn't have that. So that makes a little bit of sense. And yeah, I like Christopher Peterson was like, this family get a normal pet? I was like, of course not. No, a clairvoyant dog it is. Right? We'll see how that goes. They haven't gotten him yet, but it's all but assured, right? And then Kovely's Princess, I think that's right, said that Anya's polka dot chair is actually in the ED is a real actual chair you can buy, and that the mangaka Endo Tatsuya actually chose various chairs to represent the characters in the story. Now, they told me not to go look this up because there are spoilers of characters we haven't met yet, so I'm not going to do that. But they said that the only sets of furniture that have been shown in the show is that there's a black set of square sofas in the living room that are Loid's, and then the round polka dot chair, which is Anya's. I find it funny that Loid has like the square black chair. Like it's very traditional, very, very robust, very like classic, kind of like Loid's character. Makes sense. And then Ashley Penn says that there are various references throughout episode 10, which, yeah, I got the Dragon Ball Z one, but I didn't get these other ones. There's reference to Hunter x Hunter, to Naruto, to Black Clover, to No Game, No Life, and then obviously to Rocky and Rambo. And her comment details all of those in episode 10. Alexander Q brought up a really good point. Did Yor even go to public school? Because she's been an assassin for a young age, and it shows that maybe she didn't go to school, she dropped out so she could have this profession, and then she was able to support Yuri, who went to school, because there are several things like Yor being younger and never going to school, she's going to her job instead, her working to support her brother, the fact that her brother teaches her various things that she wouldn't have known otherwise, or that she should have known if she'd gone to school otherwise. But yeah, that's a really interesting point to bring up. And if you look historically, like a lot of times, like in the 40s and under, not everybody went to public school. Some people just didn't, and it depended on the circumstance. So that's interesting. I liked that a lot. Yeah, her profession may have led her to not need to have gone to public school. So there you go. And then finally, Annie Flowers talked about how Damien, he plays chess a lot and strategizes, but in Dodgeball, he kind of gets like tunnel vision in his strategy, right? And Annie was comparing that to the concept of Damien just having tunnel vision about his brother and his parents. Like, I've just got to do this one thing. I've got to get strong and do this thing to get my parents' approval and go from there. And he kind of gets like blindsided in tunnel vision throughout that notion. And that kind of applied to Dodgeball as well. And then as far as my comment about them not counting Billy's throws as not being out since they were above the waist, Annie said that Henry was a substitute PE teacher, not the original one. So he might have let a few rules slide. How unelegant. But yeah, I have no clue what to expect out of this episode. I really don't. I'm very excited. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, right? We shall see. So we are going to look at Spy Family episode 13 and just see what all the hubbub's about. And I'm really excited to get this new OP. I've heard it's really good. Everybody in the Discord was like, it's gorgeous. And I was like, couldn't click on it. So we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh my gosh. This was actually a really, really good start to the episode. Man, there was a few animation moments I was like, I would say that they got a little more budget from Cour 1, but the animation's always been good in this series, so I can't really say much about that. So interesting. We have a silver-haired woman that's now going to be a character. I'm curious. I don't want to know anything about her, but I'm interested. Do I already ship her with Yuri? Maybe. Probably not. No, she's probably, if Yuri is going to be on your side, then this silver-haired woman is probably somebody with Wise, which is going to be interesting because Loid is trying to keep, Yuri from finding out anything because he's with the secret police. Interesting. No, the OP's gorgeous. It's great. I love it. I love Borf, our dog. I don't know his actual name. I'm calling him Borf right now. But oh my gosh, I want to talk about this episode because I'm like a big dog lover. So the dog lover me was like having a moment with all of this. The guy that is in charge of everything, old Keith, I was like, really? He kind of had a Dazai look at the beginning, which was kind of, I made a joke about it, but yeah, so they have all these bomb dogs that they're going to strap bombs to and use them. They're highly trained military dogs that they're going to use to assassinate the foreign minister Bronx. I'm like, that's such a weird thing. I was like, how are they getting these dogs in? How's that work? But why not, right? I mean, interesting. I guess you could get a dog up close if you just walk it around and make it seem like, just, I want the ED to happen in this series because poor Anya, trying to eat that morning breakfast, the bread looks burnt. The salad has a fish bone in it, and the omelet looks like it's burnt too. Now, someone in the comments, I said this in the reaction, someone in the comments was talking about how Loid is probably used to that kind of fair and is fine with that, but I'd be like, maybe we could trade off duties. Maybe Loid could cook breakfast. I don't know. But Anya's she's struggling so much. She's like about to pass out. But she just wants to go because it's not. And she's like, does Mr. Dog eat peanuts? And Lloyd's like, well, I don't know. So he's like, no, you should. Which you can get dogs peanut butter, but I don't know about actual peanuts. I'd be afraid they'd choke on them if it wasn't the right dog, right? So they go to this like dog store, this pet store, and the guy there. It makes sense. Loid took him specifically to this one, to Kimono Park, to get a trained dog that would be able to protect the family. So Loid was intending on the pet being something that was like trained like a spy. That's not what we're getting. I like that we're getting this dog that has some average intelligence, more so than a regular dog, but not quite on this level. Oh, little, she calls him Mr. Dog. I'm calling him Borf right now because he's freaking cute. But yeah, what part of this giant, like, no offense to the bull mastiffs, no offense to the Rottweilers or the big like Dobermans, but they don't look like something that would work for Anya. I love that Anya is like reading their minds in this moment, and they're all like flexing for her and showing their muscles. And I love Anya. He's like, oh, well, don't they look smart and cute? And Anya's like, are you joking? Like when she turns around, she's like, are you kidding me? No. And I love how Lloyd's so surprised. He's like, she doesn't want any of them. I'm like, what did you think? What did you think, Loid? And I love that we see me strong and then got big muscles. And then Anya doesn't like any of them. No. And so the guy's like, well, I can ask a breeder I know. I was like, well, don't buy from a pet store, adopt from a shelter, or go to a reputable breeder. Do not go to a pet store, because usually puppy mills sell to pet stores, and those are not cool. At least in the US, that's the case. No, I would say if you want a nice purebred dog, find a reputable breeder. And if you want to adopt a dog, then go to a shelter. But a pet store, no. When I was a kid, I wanted to go to one all the time. But then I found out that usually puppy mills sell to them. And it's like, ugh, no, thank you. Not all the time. Not all the cases, but a lot of them do. So I'm like, no. And so they're like, oh, shelter's having an adoption event right now. You could just head over there. And then we see the guy that's like, he's like, I love this guy, just coming out of the shadows with the hat with the little logo on it. And he's like, it's a good thing nobody knows what that Wise logo means. And Lloyd's like, are you joking? And so he fakes a stomach ache because Lloyd's that good of an actor. And he's like, you guys go on to the shelter. I'll catch up with you all at the station. And I like that Yor is like, really? We could just wait here for you. And Anya, she's like, oh no, Papa has to go do a secret spy mission. But the way that Anya explains it, when she's like, oh, and we see Sparkles, and she like looks over and she was like, no, Papa takes a really long time when he goes to the shitter to shit, so we probably go. We should go. That line. And I love it. She's like, oh, is that so? Okay, and Loid, I love these, like, you need to watch your mouth, young lady. As he's blushing. The biggest shit in all of Ostania is happening with Loid this episode. I love that as this series goes on, Loid becomes more and more of a dad. He becomes a dad. I'm ready for him in the OP to have his full-on cardigan Mr. Rogers sweater, for him to be a full-on father. It's absolutely adorable. He's gone from being a bachelor to being a father. It's great. I love that he's like an excellent assist, but at the same time, yeah. That's so good. And so there's an assassination attempt, and then Loid makes this comment where he talks about how he says, I guess times are changing to think that a child like him could be a terrorist. And so Loid is feeling a little bit of his age, being like, it's weird to imagine this kid being part of like a terrorist plot. And then Sylvia comes in, like in her garb, in her wonderful garb here, like to question him. And I wondered as soon as they came in, I was like, are they going to have Loid come in as the guy? Because that's why they called Loid in, to be a master of disguise, to trick the young man into thinking that he needed to spill the beans. It would be funny if the woman with the silver hair in the OP is actually Sylvia, and that red hair is just a wig, but I don't think so. I think that's her actual hair. Also, her outfit with the fishnets and the long skirt in the back. What? But yeah, so they basically, like, the guy playing Keith manages to get old Chris to confess. And they say that they had some footage of Keith's past activities. And Loid is like, well, it's impossible for me to perfectly play the role based on a short video, so y'all lucky this works. And then Loid never has wig hair. He like rips off a prosthetic mask and wig and has the most perfect fluff of hair imaginable. I'm like, anime hair standards are so biased. They're not true. They're lies. But yeah, so Keith and Kim in the engineering program, and they're all the guys that I know. And the places that he takes them to are duds. They're not real places, but they said it's not going to be easy to stop trained dogs. Well, maybe not. I don't know. And he's like, but that's impossible. Giving a war dog proper special training costs about as much as a small missile per dog. So how are they able to afford it? And so I like that Sylvia's like, we're going to need your services just a wee bit longer. Meanwhile, we have the old dog, and they establish that the German Shepherd and BORF, who looks like a giant, like, English sheepdog, like old English sheepdog, but not quite, right? He doesn't look quite like it. They say he's a mutt, so he's a mix. And they're like, oh, they're definitely smart, even if they're up in years already. And that really got me because then they announced that they said later in this episode that the dogs were like part of an old experiment and that they didn't put them down. They just sold them on the black market instead. But that just got me because when I was in college, I had a class we had to volunteer for. We had to like have so many volunteer hours per week, and I would volunteer at a local animal shelter because I love animals. And they always would be like, and it's like the adoption event that they have where the first thing that everybody goes to are the puppies and the kittens. And then the small animals, everybody wants a bunny, right? And there'd be some people that would like a rat or something like that, or a guinea pig. But everybody would like, the kittens would go like that. And the puppies would go like that. But the older dogs were always a lot harder to find homes for because it's, dogs don't live forever. And so finding like a person to take in an older dog, usually they might have had some health issues, or they were just like, 10 years old, and the families would be like, well, we don't know how much longer, we don't want to have a dog for just 3 years and our kid get attached to him and then they die. And it's like, so you got that, but at the same time you felt bad because you always wanted like the older dogs to find a home and a family because they deserve love too. And it was like, ugh, we even had like a VIP room for the older cats. The cats were free to adopt. You could just, if they were over 10 years old, you could just adopt a cat for free out of the VIP room, and it was so cute. So I'm like, oh, he's an older dog. But that makes me so sad too, because I'm like, Anya's going to end up getting this dog and he's only going to live for a couple of years, right? And this is going to be really sad. So I was like, no, I was like, oh, Borf, he's so cute. But he can see the future. He's like clairvoyant, can see the future. And he sees that sign is about to fall on this kid. And he goes and saves him. Because at first I was like, oh, he just wants to be friends with this kid. But that wasn't it. He was actually trying to save him. I'm like, okay, a dog that could see the future and Anya being a telepath would be really handy. So I'm kind of all about that. I was like, oh, well, two telepathic entities in this series is one thing. But him being able to see the future and her reading minds, that's a really cool like compromise between the two, right? And then we cut to the big adoption thing, right? The adoption event until they are all home. How cute. And Anya's just like overwhelmed. Like, of course, there's the puppies. We see them all playing with the stuff. There's all the kittens. There's the rabbits. I love it. She's like, Usagi! It's so cute. And then this adoption event. Yeah, it's really big. There's a lot of animals there. And she's like, I wonder why Loid didn't bring us here first. Well, because these animals are not specially trained by the government, supposedly. And then Anya is just like, tiny doggies. And she's like, kitties. And they're like all friends. And she's like, Usagi. And then I love that Yor's like, no, we're not having a pet rabbit. And she doesn't want her to get lost. So she tells her to listen carefully. Promise me you won't leave the area with the dogs. And Anya's like, yes, as she lies. So then I want to make note. I don't know what kind of dog Loid would be. I imagine Loid would be a golden retriever, maybe? A golden retriever, perhaps? That seems like a fierce, loyal dog with lots of energy and stamina. It's a golden retriever. Seems about right. Yor is a dachshund. It all makes sense. Dachshunds are sassy. We had one when I was a kid. We had a dachshund, and they are sassy. And she's like, it's adorable. Its legs are so short. And she's like, oh, and so Yor's a dachshund girl. They're sassy. Dachshunds are fierce, right? They're like dig up little badgers and stuff. And so then, here's the thing. Anya, she says, it's cute even with stubby legs. That is such a big line to me because you're saying, oh, well, I love its little stubby legs. It's cute. Yor loves it because of the stubby legs. So Anya's saying, oh, it's cute even with the stubby legs. So she's thinking of all the times that Damien has told her she has stubby legs. Like, you're just a girl with stubby legs. And Anya's like, in her head, she's like, the gears are turning. And she's like, has he been thinking I've been cute this whole time? Which he has. And so I'm like, I'm just waiting for her to be like, you like my stubby legs, right? And he's going to be like a blush face and then just like run away, right? And he's like, does that mean Anya's cute too? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in her face, she's like, oh gosh, I have to consider this, right? So I'm just waiting for that payoff. It's like the seed was planted in that moment and I'm waiting until it all comes back and it's paid off. Just waiting for it. But yeah, so we have a Chihuahua, which is cute, and then a Pomeranian. And then I love that Anya's like imitating the Pomeranian. She's like, and so then this woman has like the same haircut as the silver-haired lady, but is not the same woman. And so Yor's like, is there a breed that's easy to keep? Because we have busy lives. And that's when Anya like looks over and sees BORF. And he sees her and sees that they make the connection and she sees what's in his mind. And I love that she just sees the sparkles and he sees the family. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh, are you special like me? And so then Anya decides, she's like, to be fair on Anya's part, she's like, there is no way to tell Yor to go after this dog without revealing that she's psychic. There is no way. So she's like, I don't want to leave, but at the same time, I'll just be gone a minute. And then the famous last words as she goes into the sketch building. But then she hears about the plan from Keith and the other terrorists. And it's like, we're going to restore Ostania to its former glory through this assassination and make him the catalyst of war between these two countries. And Anya's like, she's like, we're going to bring down the pigs of the West. And she's like, bad guy. And so she's like, oh my God. And she's like, this is the bad guy's house. And it just, the animation of her backing up and seeing this guy, nope. And he just looks down at her. And you can tell this guy doesn't want to do anything. But yeah, he brings her to Keith. And Keith is like full on ready to kill her. I was like, whoa, Spy Family. Child murder. BORF does not stand for such things. Yeah, I love that the dog like gets in there to save her. But like he has these moments of bravery. But then when the guy gets the pipe, that also made me really sad because when the guy gets the pipe, like he's going to tell him like when he gets the pipe to hit BORF, that made me really sad because I was like, has he been abused before? And so that's when he kind of like cowers behind Anya. He's like, oh no, I feel like he's been abused before. And that makes me even sadder because I'm like, I get more upset when like an animal in a series is hurt than I do a person. So, because animals are so innocent, they don't know right. They don't know right from wrong, except in this dog's case, he's been scientifically augmented to know right from wrong. But usually they're all innocent creatures and I hate when they get hurt. I'm like, no. Of course, just making this the cutest darn thing. I love that this whole episode is an advocacy to adopt older dogs. I'm like, if there's anything I take away from this, I'm like, yes, adopt an older dog. Give that dog a good life. It's like, oh. But yeah, Yor, meanwhile, is losing her mind. Like looking for her everywhere. And she's like describing the little girl, like doing all this. And nobody's seen her. And Yor is just like, I'm the worst. Like poor Yor. Poor Yor, like has all these moments in this series where she doubts herself as a mother and a wife. And I'm like, Yor, you're doing great, sweetie. But I'm like, Loid's the one that's off taking a shit somewhere. But I know he's helping like with the mission. I'm just joking. But poor Yor. And I love that she falls back on like her assassin abilities to be like, okay, I need to look up and find her. And she's just like freaking out because she doesn't see Anya anywhere. I do love when she jumped down, the one guy was like, but he didn't say anything. And then she thinks, she wonders if Anya was eaten by a dog. And she's like, no, that's probably unlikely. I love probably unlikely. Like there's a chance. There's a chance that Anya could have got eaten by a dog, but it's very slim. Right? Oh my God. But yeah, she decides, she's like, what do I do? She's like, could she have been kidnapped? Now, just being kidnapped in itself is terrifying, but Yor has heard on the TV about women who are abducted and forced into marriage, like sex trafficking. And so she's like, well, how frightening. And she's like, I'll make you my bride. I'm like, this whole scenario is quite disturbing and very scary, but because Spy Family is a little bit more like on the wholesome side of it, the wholesome family friendly side of it, it's like, we're not going to say the word sex trafficking. We're going to say the words like make them a bride. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then of course Yor's like, well, that's just perverted and wrong, which is highly true. And she's like, what do I do? And she's like, Miss Anya will be forced to marry someone. And this has to happen while Loid isn't around. I kept waiting for Loid to like show up. And meanwhile, this guy in the background's like losing his mind watching her jump down from that pillar. She's like, whatever shall I do? She's like, hurry back from the bathroom, Loid. I'm like, he's been gone so long. Meanwhile, Loid and Sylvia are trying to track down Keith. And they talk about Project Apple. And the humor of it is they have like stats on all the animals. Like they have all the animal stats. And they're like, the idea behind Project Apple, which is like Garden of Eden, like the apple of knowledge, giving it to these animals to make them intelligent. Makes sense. Is to create animals with a high IQ for military purposes. And Lloyd's like, I heard about it, that there were some reckless experiments, but when the government fell apart, they had to scrap the project. And so the animals just kind of got sold on the black market. And Lloyd's like, they say it ended with mediocre results that were far from their intended goal. So yeah, our poor dog, he's not the most intelligent. He's just mildly intelligent, which is still more than most dogs, right? But oh, I love that the dog connects with Anya and he's like, I've got a plan. And Anya's like, okay, doggy, we shall do this. And she just lets him carry her away as he shows her that the phone is going to ring and they're all going to look away. And I love that he just quietly snatches her up. And then they all looked away long enough for her to be gone. And then as he runs with her by the hood and like throws her onto his back. I love it. You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of the dog from Labyrinth. He reminds me of the dog that Sarah from Labyrinth has, which is really cute. And then she's like, you can see the future. Is it a telepath like me? Oh, I just love the Anya. Like Anya, she's like holding on for dear life. And she's like, she tells him to go to the building that her mom's in, but the dog's like, no. And so the dog can see the future though. And so the dog seeing the future is telling her that, no, we can get your mom to come and save you if we keep going this way. If you yell and we keep going this way, she'll hear us and follow us to this dark alley. We won't attract any attention. And then she can save you from the bad guys without having anybody else hurt. That makes sense. Because if they just gone into the dog thing, then she could have gotten taken again. Or there could have been civilians involved. And yeah, Yor's like, oh my God, Anya. And then he's like, let's go. He's like, what are you dumbasses doing? You were distracted by the phone. Who cares about her? And so then they tell her to take the map down. Let's go. So then Anya is begging for the dog to slow down. And everybody there in this town, they seem to see no problem with the young girl crying out for help. They think she's just playing. She's like, I'm being chased by bad guys. And they're like, isn't that cute? I'm like, I wonder if she's playing tag. And then Anya, she's like, Mr. Dog runs so fast. And at first, Anya's really scared in that moment because nobody's listening to her. She's running. There's bad guys after her. She can't get a hold of Yor. So Anya seems really scared. And she's like, he's so fast. But then that's like all the light shines down on her. She's like, he's so fast and exciting. Like, she's like, waku waku! And it's so cute. Like, she's so excited. And then she gets like all invigorated by it. And she's like, okay, let's do this. Let's do that. And she decides to take it. She's like, Anya and Mr. Dog. She's like, are going to solve this one on our own and save the day. Which is a cute premise. for a 5-year-old. But it's a good thing Yor was close by, right? She's like, we're going to get the star. She's like, and then I'll be Starlight Anya again. Aww. I love that they just like zoom up and the animation gets all super cute. But the dog was going in circles to lure either the dog is not that intelligent, which very well could be the case, or it was trying to lure Keith and the other dog there to give Yor time to catch up and find them. I like to think it's the latter, but if it was the former, that would be fine. That would be perfectly fine. But yeah, and then the Keith and the one guy, they're still going to kill her. They like have the dog and they're going to kill Anya. I'm like, dude, and he was going to make the one guy do it. I was like, oh my God. And then I just love that Yor is like, oh hell nah. And these guys just getting kicked by her. I love it. Yeah, she just knocked him out. I love the dog is like, oh my God. And then the other dog's like, screw this. And I love that she lands with her platform wedge boots on Aunt Anya in tow, right? And she's like, you won't get away with this, Mr. Pervert and Kidnapper. I just love how Yor interprets it, right? She's like, it's far too early for Miss Anya to get married. So here's the thing. Back when we were talking about Damien and Anya and like the future AUs, I was saying that like Damien would have to deal with like Loid being the disapproving father figure. No, that's not the case. No, my headcanon for the AU is that Anya getting older, if Damien like comes to the house to try to like ask Anya out on a date, Loid is not the one that Damien has to worry about. It's Yor. Yor is going to be the one like with the machete on the doorstep being like, have her back by 10. Like Yor's going to be the one, or I'll come find you. She'll be that person, that parent. And Loid will just be like, they'll be fine. That's my headcanon, is that Yor is the one that's going to be like, nah, you ain't getting with my kid. I just love it. And that's where we leave. But damn, the OP and ED, their animation budget, they went up. I love the idea of them all coming out. You have Loid and them like walking around, and you have them all in their rooms. Like there's Anya at the orphanage by herself, and there's Yuri. Okay, there's Yuri that was over there. There is this woman with the silver hair in a theater. There's Yor like about to like do her assassination mission, and then Loid, he's like on the couch in the apartment that's got all the rubble. And they each open up the doors. And then come out and have their day, right? And then, so yeah. And so then I like that this woman in the silver hair is like there and Loid's talking to her. Very curious. And then him like coming back from work. Anya's with Frankie. She's trying to make a cake and then they all work together. I love Anya has the little pigtails. And of course, here's the thing. Yor's skills chopping the meat. Why hasn't she been doing this all along? Yor should be chopping the meat and doing kebabs and stuff. Let Loid do all the other cooking things. But I love that they have all the primary colors. Like Yor has the blue now on, and she has the yellow apron, and then Anya has the red, and then your secondary color, you have Loid with the green. Super cute. And then yeah, they all have the meal as a family. And then they like all like go to their separate rooms at night. And the door shuts, and then they go off to their other jobs. But then the end of it all blurs, right? And then the little dog. So cute. That was a great first episode. That was really, really cute. I really liked that. Yeah. Nice return to form, Spy. I say that as I've gone straight from episode 12 into this episode without pause. You all have waited months to see it, so that's really cute. But I really enjoyed this episode. I love that we just got straight into the action. It's like a 2-parter. We don't know what's going to happen next. They got to prevent the assassination attempt. Loid doesn't even know about the dog or Yor Anya. I'm super, super excited to see where this goes. And now I have to wait a week. Now I'm stuck like all of you all, and I have to wait a week before I can watch the next episode. I was spoiled. I could watch a little bit ahead if I wanted to, but now I don't have a choice. I have to wait on the next episode week to week. How about that? So I'm really excited to hear your comments down below, what you all thought of the episode. This was super cute. I really enjoyed it, but I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, we're gonna start a new second cour of Spy Family. I'm excited, but I'll see you all when we get to episode 14 of Spy Family. Bye.